Hello, my name is Kurt Servin. I'm a doctorate from Plymouth University and I work at Jefo as a consultant and aquaculture specialist. And today we're going to talk about sustainability around aquaculture. Welcome to Livestock Community. First question will be, can you define what sustainability means in context of aquafeeds? Feed is a higher cost of shrimp farming, and therefore we have to use optimal use of the feed. As a reality, the cost of ingredients has changed a lot in the last 20 years, and feed companies have to adapt to the new ingredients and make the use of novel ingredients that can have a much lower impact in terms of fish meal consumption, and therefore we have to make a much better implementation of tools for nutrition and so on. Sustainable aquafeeds is not only a trend, it's a rule for most shrimp farmers and bigger farmers that can compete in the market because of the certifications and the regulations involved in shrimp farming. Difficulties of feed, making sustainable feed, is to match the nutritional requirements for the shrimp. And therefore we have to work not only in terms of the protein and fat, but also we have to talk about amino acid and other components that are essentials for the shrimp well-being, growth, and health. What are the primary ingredients used in sustainable feeds? Primary ingredients or the alternative ingredients for sustainable aquafeeds? Yes, are plant-based proteins, but also the rendering products we can find locally, which involves less transportation, domestic use, and so the difficulties of making sustainable aquafeeds is to match the profiles and also the requirements for shrimp. So we have to be capable to understand the nutritional requirements, but also the nutrition ability of those ingredients in order to match the needs for the shrimp. So therefore, sustainable aquafeeds involves, yes, the reduction of fish meal, but also the use of novel proteins such as insect meal, algae meals, and other compounds, but also the use of local ingredients, which involves less transportation and less cost, more sustainable. How does reducing fish meal and fish oil in feeds contribute to sustainability? The matter of fact is the fish meal cannot be used in aquafeed because these bait fish, should be used to feed humans. And therefore, we have to make the better use of other fish meal sources because fish meal comes in different forms. Now we use products or byproducts or rendering products from other fishery activities such as tuna fish meal, tilapia fish meal, and salmon fish meal, which have a lower impact in the lower change and also increase the sustainability of aquafeeds. What are the main challenges in formulating sustainable aquafeeds? When formulating sustainable aquafeeds, we have to look at a range of proteins and products and meals and make the better use of the domestic ingredients, first of all. Secondly, we have to match the palatability of the feed, so shrimp can take the feed quickly and make the better use of vitamins, and some other products can be diluted in water. But also we have to match the digestibility of the feed because this involves a higher cost, increases FCR, but also the waste in water. So we have to make the better use and make sure that for every kilo of feed, we have to produce 1.3, 1.4 at the most kilograms of shrimp. Also, the challenges to develop aquafeeds will be to understand the nutritional requirements. As everybody knows, aquaculture is very diverse. Every country has different conditions, and so we have to have a good understanding of the local conditions in order to match the requirements. What role does technology play in developing sustainable aquafeeds? Technology is essential to develop sustainable aquafeeds. First of all, the process of feed, whether it's pelleted or extruder, the conditions, preconditioner, all those stages has to be accurate with the needs of the shrimp farmer. Also, the softwares and the programs for feed formulations and where we have to match the requirements. Essential amino acids, the vitamins, the minerals, and have a better profile or match the profile that we used to have when we were using fish meal. Other parts of the technology is also how we deliver the feed. So we have basically 4 aspects. The technology involved around the feed manufacturing, feed formulations and softwares, transportation and storage, good conditions, and the way we deliver the feed. In this regard, technology plays a key role because we have to deliver the feed not only 2 times, but sometimes 10 times per day to make a much better efficiency of the feed consumption. Can you discuss the potential of insect meals as a sustainable feed ingredient? Insect meal is probably the most sustainable protein we can find nowadays. We have to overcome different challenges, which is, first of all, the cost of production. Secondly, the ability of the product. Also, the volume we don't have yet, but I've seen good projects involved around the insect production, but also the amino acid profile, which is not perfect. We have to manipulate and have a better profile for an insect meal in a way that the insect will have a profile, an amino acid profile and protein profile according to the feed that is being fed. In this regard, we have to do a lot of research still to deliver a product that is consistent in quality and quantity. How does the use of algae in aquafeed contribute to sustainability? Algae meal is now coming 70% from aquaculture control conditions, which means there is no impact in the environment. We're not harvesting wild algae to include in aquafeed, which is fantastic. Algae is the only species that can produce fatty acids and omega-3 fatty acids that are essential for some species such as salmon, rainbow trout, and so. Again, the challenge is how we scale up this technology in order to have a consistent product that can be brought to feed companies in volume, and obviously the cost of production. But it's fantastic technology. I see bright future in algae production. What are the environmental benefits of using plant-based ingredients in aquafeed? As the industry grows and aquaculture grows 7% per year, we have to make a better use of protein sources. Plant-based protein is essential because it's available, it's affordable, and can bring good nutrients. They're not ideal, therefore we have to make use of some technologies such as enzymes to break down some of the proteins, also to reduce anti-nutritional factors and increase digestibility. Therefore, the future of plant-based ingredients in aquafeed is very promising. We're now looking at inclusion of soybean meal as high as 40% in shrimp diets with great results. It will continue to grow, definitely. How can feed conversion ratio FCR be improved to enhance sustainability? As we move away from the fish meal use in aquafeeds, we have to increase digestibility and available protein for fish, which involves a much better program of feed formulation. When we look deep into the requirements and we look at the essential needs for the shrimp, in this regard, we have to match the needs of the shrimp, but also we have to keep an FCR below 1.5. Multiple technologies and practice will help the FCR to improve, which is also the use of automatic feeders, but also management practices, because shrimp and fish can optimize the use of feed according to their life stages. And therefore, we have to be precise when we formulate for small fish, grown-up fish, and large fish. What role do feed additives play in sustainable aquafeeds? Feed additives in aquafeed have increased their presence in the last 10 years significantly. Why is that? We have to match some of the requirements we lose when we reduce the use of fish meal, which involves many aspects: amino acid ability, digestibility, minerals, vitamins, and other aspects. In this regard, probiotics can play a key role in the health of the shrimp. Prebiotics can prevent disease outbreaks by modulating the microbiomes, and enzymes play a key role in pre-digesting the proteins, making it more available. All those factors will enhance the gut integrity of the fish or shrimp that can absorb better the nutrients, which is a win-win situation. When you have good feed, you have gut health, and you have all those elements together, your FCR can be reduced significantly. How can producers balance cost and sustainability in feed formulation? In terms of shrimp farming, we've been using normally 35% crude protein in aquafeeds. As a matter of fact, novel studies and articles being presented have shown we can maintain the performance and the FCR when using lower protein but higher digestibility. What I'm trying to say is that it's not all about protein levels, it's about the ability of the protein, how available it is for the animal, how digestible it is, and what is the nutritional profile, in particular the amino acid profile. We have seen in practice that diets with 30%, 25% can perform as good as the 35 and 40%, which is also a huge benefit for the sustainability of the feed and also the reduction of other ingredients and so. What are the advantages of using local feed ingredients? The use of local ingredients in aquafeed has to be a rule for most feed companies. I understand it's not easy, and the matter of fact is we have to work together with the people who produce this protein, also the people who produce the rendering products, in order to match the nutritional standards and the needs. Once we work with those suppliers that help the feed companies produce the feed that will be delivered into the farms, we can also improve the transparency of the ingredients, the sustainability of feed, but also we can maintain performance by using alternative ingredients that can reduce the cost, and it will bring a benefit not only for the farmer but also for the feed company, and also the producers, the people who farm the soybean meal and make the rendering products can have a benefit by having contracts ahead of time and so. What certifications or standards should be producers look for sustainable aquafeeds? Depending on the market, there are different certifications. You can go for domestic certifications, you can go for international certifications, and depending on the market, for example, for Europe, most people use AAC. For US, they use Global GAP. So you really have to look deep in what are the needs, where are your target markets, in order to adapt the certifications. I think it's very important to go through those certifications because it will help set standards and organize the shrimp production. We have a livestock community question. How can I, as a producer, monitor and evaluate the sustainability of my aquafeed practices? The most important is farmers are looking for margin. They want to improve their yields with less cost, but also they want to improve the well-being of the farm, the water conditions, the environment around the farm. So most shrimp farms pump water from the same source and sometimes discharge water in the same water body, which means that if you pollute this water, you can decrease the productivity of the farm, but if you involve sustainable practices around the farm, including the aquafeed, you can reduce the waste and therefore reduce the amount of pathogens, disease, outbreaks, oxygen drops, and so. Normally, evaluation around sustainability and production of shrimp farming involves the health of the shrimp, the performance of the shrimp, the amount of pathogens you see, and the water quality, which is all integrated in one big ecosystem that you can evaluate through multiple techniques, but as simple as observation. Since I've been a shrimp farming for over 15 years, I've seen many experts around shrimp farming. I met top experts around shrimp farming that bring up technologies, novel technologies, and can have a wider view of the global production. But also I have met people who are, I call them shrimp gurus, because it's people that can read the ponds, people that can see, smell, and read how the shrimp is performing. They literally can talk to shrimps, believe it or not. But these people grew up in villages. Most likely their family were fishermen. So they had a migration from being a fisherman to aquaculture because there was no shrimp to catch. So now they work in the farms and they understand when the ponds are performing well, what is the natural productivity, the smell, the color, the consistency, the shell of the shrimps, the color of the shrimp. There are so many aspects that cannot be measured, but they are highly dependent on the farmer observations. What role does research and development play in advancing sustainable aquafeeds? The best company, the top companies in aquaculture have their own research facility. They have hired technicians with PhD degrees that highly involved in research, and they're looking at multiple aspects, not only the ingredients and the reduction of fish meal, but also the requirements of the shrimp, the microbiome of the shrimp, the microbiome of the pond, and all those aspects around shrimp farming, and fish farming. Research and development is essential for aquaculture because we come from an industry that was developed 30 years back and there was no feed available, and then we developed the feed with some aspects that might not be the best, and therefore we're moving towards, as genetics evolve, the feed is evolving and the methodology practices around fish and shrimp farming are evolving. Therefore, research and development is essential for all the aspects. How can collaboration with the industry promote sustainability in aquafeeds? Collaboration is essential to maintain the 7% growth of aquaculture globally. I would say we have to include the academics as well as the industry and make a bridge in between, because sometimes it seems like academics are going in one direction whereas the industry is going in a different direction. We also, as an industry, we have to keep a good flow of communication in order to maintain the business going and keep the farmers going, because without the farmers there will be no industry. So companies that are highly involved in field trips, technical support with farmers will have access to essential information that will reshape the strategy, how they formulate their feeds. Researchers make the research, policy makers, and also the adoption of other practices, because as I mentioned before, aquaculture is still highly dependent on management. Some of these management techniques or methodologies are not published. They are being transferred from one generation to another generation, and therefore we have to make a more integrated use of information, but also technical manuals and methodologies that farmers can use in practice. I think it's essential. What future trends do you foresee in a sustainable aquafeeds? The future trends around aquaculture will involve, yes, the use of digital technologies. For example, water monitoring. Water needs to be monitored every hour, not a few times during the day and once at night. Normally, these activities are being performed by the lowest paid staff in the farm, and therefore we're losing a lot of information because we have no access or label to secure this data. Also, the use of single-cell proteins and other novel proteins will play a key role in the future years, because we don't fully understand how much can we improve health and performance, but the matter of fact is those microingredients and microorganisms are already in the ponds. The problem is that they are not available in quantity. Therefore, looking at microorganisms, single-cell proteins, microalgae will have a much better impact in the way we perform today. What advice would you give to producers seeking to transition to more sustainable aquafeeds? My advice for producers seeking to transition to more sustainable aquafeeds will be to invest in well-trained staff and also research facilities that can bring or that can increase the amount of information and day-to-day data that can make decisions to make the changes we have to do towards more sustainable and profitable farming. My name is Kurt Servin, a doctorate in shrimp nutrition. It's all for me today. Thank you for watching Livestock Community.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Livestock Community Podcast, proudly sponsored by Jefo. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and found it valuable. For more information, be sure to visit www.jefo.com/livestockcommunity, and don't forget to follow us on YouTube and Instagram to stay updated with the latest episodes and content. We'd love to have our experts answer your questions, so feel free to send them our way through our social media. See you next time, and thank you for being part of the Livestock Community.